Hi there and welcome to another video from Hegarty Maths. It's Mr. Hegarty here. This is our third video on index form and we're dealing explicitly with negative integers as our exponents here. So, linked to previous learning, could you pause the video and fill in this power table for powers of 7? Okay, we did this in the last video. Hopefully it's easy. 7 to the power of 1 means 7 multiplied by itself just one time and the answer is 7. 7 to the 0, anything to the 0 is 1. And now we can start spotting patterns. Let's have a look. Now, each time the power is going down by 1, we are dividing our overall answer by 7, aren't we? So therefore, if 7 to the 0 is 1, 7 to the negative 1 must be 1 over 7, mustn't it? And 7 to the negative 2, we must divide by 7 again, or have another 7 multiplying on the denominator, which has the same effect, and we get 1 over 49. Now here's where we start spotting patterns with negative powers. This is really important for us. 7 squared means 7 times 7 and you get 49. Whereas 7 to the negative 2 is very like it. It's almost a symmetry here to the negative 2 is 1 over 7 times 7, which is 1 over 49. So you can see there. And just in the same way, let's do it with the power of 1. 7 to the 1 is just 1 7 and the answer is 7. 7 to the negative 1, right? That's 1 over 7 and the answer is a 7th. So what must 7 to the negative 3 be? Well, it's symmetrical to 7 to the power of 3. It's 1 over 7 times 7 times 7. So it's going to be 1 over 7 times 7 times 7, which is going to be 1 over 343. And that works again, 1 over 49. If we divide that by another 7, you would indeed get 1 over 343. And we can think of these as a word we've learnt in maths here that we've talked about before. 1 over a number is called the reciprocal, if you remember that, reciprocal. So we've done that previously. So 7 to the negative 1 is the reciprocal of 7 to the 1. 7 to the negative 2, because it's 1 over 7 times 7, which is 7 squared, it's the reciprocal of 7 squared. And 7 to the negative 3 is what's called the reciprocal of 7 cubed. Now if you know these patterns in your head and can generate them, you know how negative powers work. Okay, so if someone, let's say, asked you just, I don't know, 8 to the power of negative 3, you know that's 1 over 8 to the positive 3, and if you know your cubes, 8 cubed is 512, so that's 1 over 512. Done. Simple as that. So we're ready to try some questions. Before we do that, let's just state the rule for negative powers. Let's say something like, let's give an example. 7 to the negative 3 means 1 over 7 to the positive 3. That's what it means. It means 1 over 7 to the positive 3, i.e. 1 over 7 times 7 times 7, i.e. 1 over 343. Okay, so negative powers mean 1 over the positive power. We can give ourselves a little rule here. Negative power means I'll write 1 over, and I'll write or the reciprocal. That's the proper mathematical word. Negative power means 1 over or the reciprocal of the positive power. Okay, and that's all we have to learn. So say for example, let's do one more. So let's say 8 to the negative 2, that means 1 over 8 squared, and 8 squared is 64, so that's 1 over 64. And there you go, that's everything you need for negative powers. Let's do some questions. Let's write the following in index form. 1 over 9 times 9 times 9 times 9. I hope you'll agree that's 1 over 9 to the power of 4, which in single index form is the same thing as 9 to the power of what? Negative 4, that's right. Can we do this in one move? 8 times 8 times 8 times 8 times 8 times 8 times 8. We've got 7 eighths multiplied. 1 over 8 to the power of 7, we can just write as 8 to the negative power of 7. What about this? Can we do it in one move? There's 5 2's multiplying. 1 over 5 2's multiplying together is 2, not to the 5, but to the negative 5. And the last one, we've got negative 2 multiplying together 5 times. So this is going to be negative 2 to the power of negative 5, like that. Alright? Write out the following as a product, so write out what the meaning of this is, not the answer. 9 to the negative 2 is 1 over 9 times 9, two 9's multiplied together. 8 to the negative 5 means 1 over 8 times 8 times 8 times 8 times 8, 8 multiplied together 5 times. 5 to the negative 3 means 1 over 5 times 5 times 5, and negative 5 to the negative 3 means 1 over negative 5 multiplied by negative 5 multiplied by negative 5. They didn't ask us to work this out, they just said write your answer as a product, which we did. Evaluate the following. Now evaluate here actually means work out the answer. 2 to the negative 3 means 1 over 2 cubed, right? And 2 cubed is 8, so this is the answer, 1/8. 5 to the negative 1 means 1 over 5 to the positive 1. And 5 to the positive 1 is just 5, so this is a fifth. 10 to the negative 3 means 1 over 10 cubed. And 10 cubes 1,000, so this is 1,000th. Simple as that. 3 to the negative 2 means 1 over 3 squared. 3 squared is 9, so this must be a ninth. 2 to the negative 2 is 1 over 2 squared. 2 squared is 4, so this is a quarter. And negative 2 to the negative 1, that means 1 over negative 2 to the power of 1. And negative 2 to the power of 1 is just negative 2. And this is 1 over negative 2, like that. And a positive divided by a negative is actually a negative answer. So we could actually just say this is like negative 1/2. Another one. Evaluate 0.5 to the negative 2 without using your calculator. Now for me this is where knowing a decimal and a fraction can be interchanged is really helpful. 0.5 I can write as 1/2 to the negative 2, right? Which is 1 over 1/2 squared, right? 1 over 1/2 squared. I'm sure you'll agree. Now 1/2 squared is 1/2 times 1/2, which is a quarter. So this is 1 over a quarter. Now what's 1 over a quarter? What's the reciprocal of a quarter? Well, it's 4. If you go back to the fractions video where we talked about reciprocals, we said that 1 divided by any fraction, like let's say 2/7, always gives us 7 over 2. So in this case, 1 over 1/4 would give us 4 over 1, which is 4 divided by 1 is 4. And there you go, nice and easy. We've done what seemingly looked like a complicated challenge, but we did it using our fractions knowledge. And let's just finish off on this note here. This is going back to fractions again, so to practice our fractions, evaluate the following without using a calculator. Now, let's have a go. 1 to the negative 1 means 1 over 1 to the positive 1, and 1 over 1 is 1. 2 to the negative 1 means 1 over 2 to the 1, which is 1/2. Now, 1 over 3 to the negative 1, I'm just going to go over here, means 1 over 3 to the positive 1, which is just 1/3, which if we know as a decimal is 0.3 recurring. We should know that as a decimal. 4 to the negative 1 is 1 over 4, which as a decimal we should know as 0.25. 5 to the negative 1 is 1 over 5, which if someone asked us the decimal, we should know it by heart is 0.2. 8 to the negative 1 is 1 over 8, and if someone asked us the decimal, we should know that one too, it's 0.125. 10 to the negative 1 is 1 over 10, which we should know is 0.1 or 0.10. 10 to the negative 2 is 1 over 10 squared, which is 1 over 100, which if someone asks us a decimal is 100th, looks like that. And this here, you can spot the pattern. This is going to be 1 over 10 cubed, which is 1,000, and the decimal is 1,000th, like that. And this one here is going to be 1 over 10,000, 10 to the power of 4. So, and that's going to be here 1/10,000th, like that. And that's it for this video. Here was a nice way of going back to our fractions and checking we remember our fractions knowledge. That's it for negative integers with index form. Thanks for watching.